Okay, so the next thing we do is we want to prepare them to be able to move their hands and be able to use their fingers. So what that will involve is, since up to this point they've always held the violin right here, we need to be able to get them down to this part of the violin. So there's two slide practices or games that we use. And so at this point what I would like to do is, instead of bringing the violin to the chin, we teach them to go into a rest position. So they start to rotate the violin just like they did before, but they stop halfway and then continue bringing the violin over here to their other arm. And then they can just bring their arm across like this on the opposite side underneath the bridge, and then it's comfortable right there. And what that does is it frees up this hand to be able to move because the violin is being held with this arm. And so the first slide that we use, this is I call this the finger slide, because the four fingers will be on top of the fingerboard. And we start out with the thumb underneath, and this is something that Kato Havas said was something that Jascha Heifetz, the famous violinist, how he began. Before he played, he would set his hand like this, and it relaxes the hand. So this finger slide, with the fingers like this, we slide the fingers along the top, and the thumb stays exactly in the same position. And every time we get back to the back of the violin, the thumb will go under. So we just do that a few times. And also the index finger, you know that you've reached as far as you can go when it hits this top scroll and it can no longer move anymore. So that's how far you want to be moving it. So after they've done that a few times, at this point we instruct them to set their thumb down as light as a feather onto the fingerboard like that. And that's very important that that thumb be very relaxed. If we teach that right away, then they will learn much more quickly, instead of learning it where a lot of times they learn to get real tight and then you have to unlearn it. Because the second slide is called the magic X slide. So once we have the hand in this position, we're only going to leave the index finger and the thumb in contact. And in fact, we're going to lift the index finger off of the string, so only the side of the finger will be in contact. Mimi's wife calls this the magic X slide, and the magic X is right where the palm meets the side of the index finger, so the last bend of the finger. So, and she'll even put a little X on there. So now at this point, that's the contact and the thumb are the two contact points. So at this point they slide up until their hand touches the rib and they can't move any further. And then they slide back. And one thing that I like to teach them is to feel the thumb. They should feel the end of the scroll. They should feel their thumb come in contact with the end of the scroll. If you don't teach that to them, then they may end up not sliding far enough, and then that creates other problems as well. So now that once they've gotten comfortable with these two slides, the finger slide, and then they set their thumb down, and then the magic X slide, we're ready to do those same slides under the chin. So we would have them, and again, I always, based on Mimi's wife's insights, I always have them do the same setup, because and actually also Kato Havas talked about this. You can do an experiment if you have the student pretend like they're bowling, doing a bowling alley. Of course, you'll have to, if they're not left-handed, you'll have to ask them to pretend they're left-handed, and have them go like this and bring your hand like this and see what that feels like, and then have them hold that for 10 seconds or so, and then shake out their arm. And then this time they're going to reach up into the air and pull it down and see if they notice any difference. And almost everyone will feel much more relaxed coming from above. So that's one of the reasons why we always start from above when we set the violin up. So now that they've gotten familiar with these slides, we'll do the same slides but with the violin under the chin. So the finger slide with the thumb under, And it's fine for them to hold on to the violin on this side at this point. In fact, it's probably necessary because with the thumb in the air, they won't have any support anymore. So they do the finger slide first, and then once they've done that a few times, always the knuckle always hitting the peg, then they'll set their thumb down very gently. Then they'll lift the fingers up. They still have their magic X and their thumb contact, and then they'll do that slide. And then once they slide their hand back toward the peg box and the pegs, this is the position that they will be for where their first notes that they will finger. And then we put tape marks on, and I'll show that in the next lesson. We put tape marks to train them to know where to put those fingers.